Thank you for being here. I've been I've been excited about this entire thing, but this group in particular is special. And mainly because there's such a commonality between the people and the souls in this room that this is like a soulful connection, which is like what we need right now, right? So let me tell you, because I know some of you don't know who we are and what we're doing. So I will fill you in quickly just so you understand. And we understand that we don't quite yet know how to explain this because it's a very unique concept, or at least we think it's unique. Maybe it's not so unique, but we think it's unique. Our mission with Passion Dallas is to connect the purpose-driven leaders of our city and really kind of help elevate the culture, because I think Dallas can be misunderstood. And especially now that so many different kinds of people are moving here, it's really filled. Reason I've always loved it is because of the people. Like, I think Dallas, I personally think that it has the best people anywhere, and it has this sort of like plastic reputation, and I think it gets kind of a bad rap, but also and it was already this way, but with COVID, our inability to connect has been so detrimental to our lives. We already felt that way. We were doing this before COVID, and then COVID hit and we had to kind of stop. So our beta test, which this is a beta test, it is just our first doing it messy, imperfect version of where we're trying to go. And the reason you're here is we did not invite everybody. I mean, we eventually would love lots of people to come, but we invited people that we knew would be open to it. But we want your feedback. Honest, give it to us. We can take it. Like, we are not going to be, you're fine.
Sorry.
No worries. We're not going to be, upset about it, but we really want to know how we can serve. And that is something that you're here to do. But this Roundtable podcast is our version of connectivity on a very deep level. So, we go to networking events and things like that, and you kind of leave and you're nervous to go, and then you kind of leave and it's kind of like, okay, you got a bunch of business cards, but you have no real connections. By the time you leave here, and yes, some of you guys already know each other, so the connection's there, but we want you to feel really like you've met some people that you're gonna do life with. But because we live in this digital age, and especially because podcasting is becoming such the thing right now, and really actually the power of voice and hearing each other and being seen and all of that really does matter. We're doing a podcast because, why not? So it's this version of let's connect through deep conversation, and I'm going to lead it, but it's really just talk. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this. We want it to be natural. A few cameras don't hurt, a little bit audio. And what's great is that, I'm in particular connected to audio. I'm a podcast obsessed kind of person. But you'll be able to kind of watch it back and see how it was. And so it kind of brings memories, and we'll clip things out and we'll give them to you. So you'll have some little parting gifts as well to take with you into your lives. But anyways, that's what we're doing. We're doing basically a connectivity podcast. And so it's blending two realms together that would not normally go together. So anyway, that's what we're here to do. I'm going to start with Summer. Summer, if you'll do a minute of who you are, okay, what you're about, and then read your quote.
Hi, I'm Summer Pailet, and I am a self-professed soulpreneur. And what that means is really taking my light and helping shine it on others to help them grow to their potential. And in doing so, I do that for myself. And so it is a win-win. And I'm a mother of 3 and 3 boys, triple trouble. So I am all about the girl power. That is truly what lights up my soul, is women coming together, especially, and sharing experiences and truly having the opportunity to connect. So, of course, how this fires me up. As far as what I do, it's really about what I get to do, which is I coach executives as well as I lead professional development teams, leadership development classes, cohorts, etc. And it is truly my passion. I love what I do, so it is a get to.
Quote.
My quote is perfect.
Of course.
I love this word, one of my favorite words. Abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. And that is by Wayne Dyer. And I totally, this resonates for me. I totally believe in abundance mentality. And I do think that, I know for me, especially since COVID, that it's all about tuning into the right frequency. And, you know, I've talked to a few of you here about that in depth. And, you know, I think more than ever, it's been revealed for all of us to, with just living a more simple life, to recognize, you know, what are we tuning into and what is the frequency that we're on? And then what do we really, where do we aspire to be? You know, because there's many of us who were on different frequencies and we choose that, and that's okay. And then there's some of us who are, you know, always striving for a little bit different frequency. So I try to stay in my higher level soul. That's where I strive to be.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
I already love you.
So nice.
Yeah, my name is Stefanie Tovar. My pronouns are she, her, and ella. Have to say it because I'm Latina. Soy Latina,
beautiful.
proudly Latina. And I am a storyteller, a healer, musical artist. I started life as a performing artist. I toured internationally with that work for a while, and then I decided to shift when tragedy hit my heart to go ahead and devote my life towards service. And so that led me on my yoga mat and led me to facilitating yoga and wellness in that manner. And then I ended up finding, well, there by the grace of Lululemon. Thank you. with the grant, a Here to Be grant to help form my nonprofit, which is currently named Hanuman Homies, and we are undergoing great transition and expansion to help weave in more creative modalities for healing. And our primary focus tends to be kiddos, but since COVID came, we realized everybody is in dire need of interconnection and in dire need of self-care. Ways in which we can access our voice, connection with our bodies, connection to reclaiming connection to all that we are, and we are sacred. And so witnessing that and the beauty of Hanuman Homies and the work that we will continue to do moving forward is that it really is about us practicing the balance of self-care and collective care and community care. And especially in these times, I think that that's another thing that we've all been called to do, is to be whole and to serve with our whole heart and our whole lives. So that's me. And I got an Albert Einstein quote, and this feels really accurate too. There are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Totally relate.
That quote.
Yeah.
Such a good one.
You love?
Oh, okay. My name is Lauren Margolies, and I am... I've been toying with how to describe myself lately, so this is a good challenge, but I am a wellness provider whose focus is on spiritual teachings through definitely a lot of different modalities. I enjoy the teachings of yoga, meditation. I am a sound healer. I am currently in the midst of emerging as an astrologer and a tarot card reader. And my purpose with all of the different modalities is to help people access deeper connection to the essence of who they are and to help them find more depth and more purpose in their day-to-day lives, and light people up with all of the tools that have made me feel lit up and passionate and connected to my higher self. So I'm constantly adding to the toolkit. So talk to me again in a year and we'll see where we're at. But my quote is, when you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Lao Tzu.
Nice.
I'm Dr. Rebecca Harvey. I'm a psychologist, a coach, an author of a divorce book, Divorcing in Love, and a corporate speaker. And I refer to myself as a neuroenthusiast because I don't practice as a neuropsychologist per se, but I'm really passionate about helping people understand how to create balance in their mind and body, and to do so by incorporating spiritual practice, whatever that is. And obviously all of you sitting here know that there's so many ways for people to accomplish that. And so that's a really important part of my reach, is helping people understand how to bring that in a very personal way. I absolutely love what I do, and I'm really just all about trying to push people in a direction of love, whatever that is, and trying to really figure out how to bring love, greater love for themselves and greater love for those around them. So any way I can do that, I'm super pumped to do it. And I love the quote that I got today. I was telling Carrie that I was driving on my way here listening to Abraham Hicks, which is not so odd because more days than not, I'm typically listening to her. But the quote is, "The fastest way to bring more wonderful examples of abundance into your personal experience is to take constant notice of the wonderful things that are already there."
Yes.
Me. Last but not least, I'm Alanaluderman. I would like to say I'm just a mom, but I don't even really know how I'm even in this group. Most importantly, I am a mom of 2 girls, 18 and 21. Lots of struggles, lots of awesome things and hard things, and teaching girls how to be really strong. But I think my gifts are connecting, communicating, and I really, more than anything, love being there for the little guy and raising them up and getting to the next point. My goal right now is to get women back into the workforce, because that's what I did 2 years ago, and it has been hugely enlightening. After thinking I was going to a yoga class and ending up at Lauren's sound healing class, my life literally changed overnight.
Oh, wow.
But every day I have to meditate because COVID is so hard for me. I'm such a connector of people, and I love people in that connection, and I am missing it. So I will hug you. And more than anything, family is so important to me. And for me, friends are family, and family is family. So I love people. Summer knows I love people, are so important to me. My quote: "The key to abundance is meeting limiting circumstances with unlimited thoughts," which, if you know me, you literally wrote this about me, by Marianne Williamson. It really is. Like, I feel like I am so not limited in any way, and every day I'm finding new and wonderful things. So thank you for having me.
I probably will cry. So sorry. I'm Carrie. I come out of the real estate space for 20 some odd years, and I've had a really great career that I've loved. But I realized along the way that it was not real estate that kept me there. It's completely about the relationships. And more than that I think that maybe it's a gift, maybe it's a curse. I don't know what it is, but I see people. Like, I can see people. And it's not enough that I see them. Like, I want to lift them up, I want to inspire them, and I want to put them in front of the world. And so my sister says to me, as she's reading my sign to me, that, it's no accident that you created Passion Dallas, because that's exactly what your sign says. So I didn't know that. I mean, it's something that came by accident, and it came completely from my heart. But I am completely in my passion right now. I believe that we need each other. I think the world needs connection, and that business and work and success has a lot more to do with who you know and your own level of happiness and what you can bring into this world because of that, and a lot less to do with push and struggle, though there's some of that, and we were talking about that earlier. Rebecca and I were, we do push, but hopefully it's for the right reasons. So I knew Allana signed up first, and as soon as she signed up, I went, okay, we're gonna like hand pick this little group, and then thank goodness Lauren brought Rebecca in. Aww. It was like the perfect mix. So this is a very hand-picked group. It's built on soulpreneurs. With honestly some of the best spirits that exist. And so I thank you so much for helping John and I help create our passion project. And we hope to make this everything that it deserves to be and everything that you deserve. So my quote says, "If you look at what you have in your life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in life, you'll never have enough." Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. So if you hadn't guessed, our topic is abundance. We're going to talk about abundance because I felt like...
I think I have chills.
Well, actually, let me tell you chills. Great. My summer over here.
Yeah. Can I just stop for 1 second and say, before I left, I felt called that I needed an essential oil, and that's why I was late. Literally, that's why I was late, because I had to find my abundance essential oil blend. No joke. I was like, I feel like I have to have it on me today.
Wow.
Literally.
And now you know why I wouldn't say anything to you the other day, because there is something
and
about...
I don't normally travel with these. So...
That's so funny. And Summer brought us a bottle of wine. Thank you, Summer.
Oh my.
And here,
oh my.
Life is filled with abundant moments. This is one of them.
Wow.
So I
pocketed
that.
Wow.
So every time I'm near you.
Yeah.
I know. There's like a weird, like electricity.
Mm-hmm. Electricity.
That's the frequency.
Mm-hmm. I needed that.
We all do.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. And again, there's no rules. This is not we're not here to create more difficulties and stress. I'm going to start. I'm going to ask a question. I'll start with one of you. I'm not sure who. Whatever comes to my head at the time. And you guys feel free to chime in accordingly, because we're here to really have a conversation. And I know it can be a little distracting with cameras. Our hope is that you don't even notice them, and that you literally can just hear the sound of each other's voices, and then you get caught in that. And then I'll probably add some more questions, and we'll kind of go from there. My first question... I think people miss abundance as being about money. And actually, Lauren and I kind of brought that up earlier today. And it's funny, I actually ran into a real estate friend of mine who I really respect in the business. She's an excellent agent. She's been around for a while, and she knows her stuff, and she does phenomenal. And without saying her name, she mentioned how it's really not fun right now for us because there's a lot of stress in the industry, and how a lot of what we get back in real estate, and by the way, it's a great career. I am not dogging on it. So no dogs, but is the monetary piece of it, that, it's a profession where we can, if we do well, make a lot of money. And she made the comment that, all that is rewarding, and there's something there, like, that's not what we're about. We feel like we need to be the savior of people and all of that. And so I bring to the topic that I think a lot of people think abundance is money. And so I want to make sure to go there from the beginning and say, look, what does it really mean? And I'll start with Summer, because you're right there. What does it truly mean to have abundance?
Okay, so that's so fascinating. Right when you said money, I wasn't even thinking about money.
Right.
And I think when you just announced that we would be talking about abundance, I was actually thinking about abundance of so many different experiences and emotions. And, we tend to categorize experiences or feelings or emotions as good or bad. And it is not until more recent that I am really working with my own perspective that they're neither necessarily. And really working to reframe that. And so, I was first thinking about, wow, just even this past year, what it has brought in 1 year's time, so many different things for me personally and professionally. And I was thinking even like having an abundance of hardships, really having to conquer some serious medical things that have risen. And so I was thinking more around the idea that, what does abundance mean? And it doesn't always have to be that glamour piece of abundance. Abundance to me is about fullness. It is about feeling, expressing, experiencing every inch and core of whatever that is. And so to me, it's really about the full expansiveness, which I think it speaks to me because if I'm going to do it, I'm all in. So if I'm all in, and I laughed with a friend not long ago. She said, how's it going? And I'm sure I'm one of her exhausting friends. Like, I just know that I am because she, you just can tell. Like, I always have something going on. She's always very steady. And she laughs, right? And because she's like, oh my gosh, Summer. I said, it's okay. It's actually really okay. I said, because for me, I have really high highs and really low lows. But for me, that's my life and who I am right now in this place, in this world, in this time. And that's what I'm supposed to experience. And, not fighting the current, but actually swimming with it and really feeling all of it.
Summer, I love that you mentioned hardships when you were talking about abundance, like right from the beginning, because that was one of the first things that came to my mind is my gratitude practice. And that's what I associate to abundance. From a really young age, my mom taught me like, be grateful in all things, which I think is just like a phrase people say, but I watched my mother emulate that. And there was a point in time where she actually challenged herself to do over a period of a year on social media, 1,000 things she was grateful for. So in the beginning, it starts off, of course, like, I'm grateful for my children and my career. Wow. I have a roof over my head. And then it's things like, I'm grateful that I had an alcoholic father, and I'm grateful. Yeah. I mean, it's like and I was like, what is happening, right? Like, what is she doing? And we talked it through, and she was like, those are the things that shaped me. Yeah. Those are the places where I stretched and grew and became wise and evolved. And so I love that piece. When you think of abundance, it's not just the glamour. There's so many ways to have an abundant life, even in the hardships and the struggles and the negative emotions. Right. Yeah. I love that.
Are you ready? For me, it's quality versus quantity. I mean, I can literally I could say it immediately because as we get older and you have less time for the bullshit, I'm just gonna say it. Like, I don't have time for that anymore. Like, I have time for this, and that's quality for me. And if I don't talk to you for 3 weeks or whatever, we're going to come right back because we have that quality relationship. And those are the people I have in my life. Yes. Now, I'm always open to adding new people because, I love people. But still, I think it's quality for me. Like, I don't need a million people all the time. I just need the quality. And it's not just people. I think it's things and hard, good, bad. Summer and I, we like sit in the same place. Like, I'm not that friend that is like this. I'm exactly the same person. So she'll call me, we're like, yeah, me too. We don't even say it. We just know. Like, whatever. I can just send her like a little smile and she knows, like, it's been a hard day for me. But it is like, I have to be a part of it because you can't like shut that down, because I have to be fully 100% because my family they need me to be that. And I need me to be that, because when when I'm not me, then I bring the passion to all of it. When you say passionate, I feel like that's who I am as a person, probably since I was born. But I really do bring that, and I think when I get shut down in emotion, my whole family is sad. You know, good, better, and different. But yeah, quality over quantity for me.
So good.
Steph, why do you think it's important to have abundance in your life? Like, or to have an abundant mindset is probably the better way to ask.
Oh, so many reasons. I mean, I would say, to have abundance in our mind is to also let it settle into our hearts, I feel. And to be able to fill our cups and let our cups be overflow, then that's where we can pour our love from. And for me, actually, I am in that process right now of releasing scarcity mindset and allowing my mind to expand as wide as my heart can, and really considering the life I can grow into, and where my heart and my potential can grow into. And we can't do that from a scarcity mindset. And I feel like, especially with, like, I know you, Carrie, you gathered folks that have abundant hearts and abundant sight. We're meant to allow our hearts and our minds hug the world, just really hold the world. And so with that, and I feel that in my heart, like I feel that's what's meant to be. So with that, I really am doing my best to try to release the scarcity mind. But Lauren and I are actually talking about this recently, when we're just stuck in the doing and the trudging and, pushing against, the little boxes that, we allowed, and also that we kind of found our little comfort place in. When we continue to do that, it's hard to rest and dream. And so the resting is so important to remember the dreaming. And to me, like for me, that's really me trying to challenge the fact that I need to be working and productive all the time, because to be abundant also is to rest in the dream and allow for the dream to flow, trusting.
She's teaching me that too.
that ease.
Slow lesson.
Ease is, that's the Abraham Hicks piece, right? Is like, where follow the ease and the path of least resistance.
Yes.
And in doing so, you stay in a higher vibration, and then you draw to you more abundance, right? In whatever it is, right? The contrast, right? Or the alignment, but it's still the abundance. I love that.
Completely.
Yeah.
I've never sat still, like my entire life. And this one has taught me how to sit still every morning. Like, it's changed my life, because I don't do massages, because you have to sit still. Like, I will just chat the whole time through it, maybe nervous energy, or because I like people and I just want to hear your life and tell me your story, but I don't sit still. And so I think that is like, it's so important to like just calm your mind for it.
Yeah. We were in, just to give Lauren a little bit more, since we're talking about her so much here, but it's true. We were in a podcast scenario before COVID shut us down, and we were trying this in a different way. And then COVID happened. And somebody was talking about being in action all the time. And Allana, I'm very much like you. You would not actually know we're from the same. I mean, we have a lot of the same priorities and we have the same stuff, but we're completely different souls, right? I am fire. I am constant. And one of the people in this podcast had said how you have to be in action all the time, right? Like, in order to get things done and whatever. And I remember repeating that to Lauren, and she said the same thing to me, Steph, where she was like, you have to reflect in it as well. And so I know where you're all coming from, because I really have to work daily on it, because otherwise I'll just plow through it completely.
Can't see.
Talk about that though, like
in the trees.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the balance.
Since you gave the idea to a lot of us, what's behind it?
Well, the idea behind it is that if you're always moving forward, you can't possibly be intentional with where you're going. You have to pause and reflect, and you have to take time to nurture, to understand what your heart really wants. Because I do agree, it's not about our heads, it's about our heart, which is what's connected to our soul's purpose. It's like, what is the essence of what's going to fill me? And to me, that's the abundance piece, because money is where I do have some things to work on, and I am working on it. And it's like, as soon as you start letting go of the power that part has over it, you can like, it's interesting how that can shift so quickly. But the abundance piece for me in that regard comes from nurturing yourself. And if you are always constantly trying to like move forward and you're trying, you know, constantly in action, then you're not being reflective, you're not being intentional, and you're not creating from a place of deep awareness. And that is just not how I want to create.
It kind of ties in with what Summer said too. I feel like we need to have the emotion tied to it as well.
Yes.
The emotion needs to be tied to our heart's desire and to the dream in order to attract it to us and to let ourselves feel our heart's desire, you know? Like we can't just be in work mode and analytical mode. We have to let our heart help us get there.
Yeah.
So much of the time, I think if we stay in analytical mode, we actually start moving in a direction that's not where we want to go, which is what I love about the therapy process and meditation. And side note, I tell people, if you could develop a meditation practice or go to therapy, I tell this to my clients even, I'm like, meditate. That's why I teach meditation groups. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, yes, because it's really just about that. It's about taking the time out to center and check in with what you really want, what your purpose is, what's in alignment, what feels right to you. And so much of the time, if we're just in action, and I can totally relate to this, I'm high strung and fiery. So if I don't do things like yoga and meditation and massages and anything else that makes me stop, then I can lose sight.
Right.
And I'm just going in a direction and I'm like fighting uphill and pushing. And why isn't this working? Because it's not actually what I want on some level. I'm just pushing at it because that's what I do, is just go.
But don't you think that's what a society, like we're drugging our kids, we're drugging our people for kids that have anxiety and depression, and everybody in the community right now through COVID, we're drugging them. And, you know, I want to say, you should be sad.
Yes, you should.
You should be angry.
There are reasons to be anxious and depressed.
Angry and sad and
absolutely
and pissed off and happy and elated. Like, have those feelings. If I hear one more therapist say, you know, like, let's get rid of all of that. No, have those feelings. You need to have those feelings.
That's the biggest thing.
And our kids are growing up in this world where everybody's just trying to drug them.
Well, they think they're supposed to be happy all the time because that's what social media says.
Exactly.
Social media is the highlight reel.
Exactly.
So, like, that's what I'm aspiring to.
Like,
that makes no sense
right now.
That makes no sense.
Get it. It stinks. And, like, you know what? It's going to be great. But just know that it really does suck. I'm not going to make it better.
Exactly.
There are sucky parts. And if you're focusing on those, you're going to feel crappy. Well, that's what that's the thing is, like, whatever you're looking at or thinking about, that's exactly where your emotions are going to follow.
Exactly.
So I say to people, like, you can't sit here and tell me about your trauma and also feel good at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
But you can think about puppies and butterflies and the last awesome vacation you had right now, and you'll switch and you'll start feeling good.
Right.
So, yeah.
So can I add something to that, Allana? Just on that note, yes, I'm a big Brene Brown fan. Obviously, Brene Brown trained for Dare to Lead. So, you know, she talks about emotional literacy, and I was actually having this conversation yesterday with a coaching client, and, you know, talking. She was actually going back into a new role, into a new company, and she was fearful. And so I said, well, let's unpack that. You know, why are you fearful? And so she started to unpack some of that and just naming it. And I said, naming it is so huge. And, you know, typically what we name, and especially our, you know, U.S. society culture, it's we're pissed, we're angry. And really and truly, you know, maybe we're disappointed, maybe we're hurt, maybe we're embarrassed, maybe, you know, all these different emotions that we don't explore. So once we get our kids, and how about our spouses, or how about our friends, or how about just yourself talking to yourself in the shower, hey, I'm hurt right now, like to the bottom of my core of my heart, I'm hurt. And so naming that, but then here's the next part. Provide coping skills.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the part. So yeah, we can go name it. Okay, yes, I can cry. Now what? And I think it's about being able to help support one another with coping skills. And to me, those coping skills are meditation. They are yoga. They are therapy.
Exactly.
They are, doing things that are self-care, that are important. And to me, also a big piece of the running, and, I do a lot around this too, is creating white space. We don't create white space. And I think that is a tremendously ignored opportunity, a disservice we do to our kids, a disservice we do for ourselves, because in the white space, do you guys remember like when you went to work or when you had your first job, or just even being a mom and busy all the time, you would make a to-do list?
Yeah.
Okay. Like I loved filling up the to-do list. I loved it. Well, now, are you kidding me? We're just trying to get it off, right? You don't want to write anything down. You just want to get off the list. But having that white space, that time of reflection, that's where the growth happens.
100%.
And by the way, that's where the innovation happens.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
where new ideas happen.
Yes.
That's where, we can look and say, whoa, I didn't handle that right. And that's where I go back in and say, hey, I need a redo.
Yeah.
I need to course correct.
Reflection.
Yes, that's where the growth happens to me.
So what you're bringing to mind and kind of piggybacking off what you were saying is like there's so much of negative emotion we think we're not supposed to have as society.
Right.
We're not supposed to have this. And so, but we're still feeling it. And our brain doesn't know the difference between physical and emotional pain. So if I had a hot poker and I was running around this space with it, you guys would be running away from me. And we do the same thing with emotions instinctively. So what we need to be teaching others is that it's okay to sit in the negative emotion, not to wallow, not to perseverate, but just to touch on it, to honor it, to look at the physical experience of that, the feeling of the emotion, and ask what the message is. What is important to me that this is communicating to me about? And there's something called paradoxical intervention, which is basically until we can first stand exactly where we are, the energy of an experience can't shift. And so when we can learn that it's okay to be in the negative emotion and we just let ourselves feel it and be in it for a moment, it's like, and I'll tell people it's a 90-second rule and you'll feel it in your body tight wherever it is. And then in 90 seconds, it just moves because that's what energy does.
Yes.
Energy wants to move, but it can't move if we're busy pushing it away.
Exactly.
Because we're just holding it,
Well, and that's what I've noticed with kids in particular, just with us being in the school settings. Kids have all these constant pressures to they don't have an outlet to express or to be in the feeling. They just have to, and part of it is our society, it really does just value the cognitive mind over the feeling heart. And so to be able to be there, I remember I could see, there's a school that we're serving in Oak Cliff. It's pre-K to 8th grade. And there's a 6th to 8th graders coming into the space. And you could just see the grief on them. You could see the sadness and the hopelessness in them. And just having them walk and settle onto their mats. And I told them, like, wow, I could feel your presence right now, coming in the space. And I said, I just want you to know your emotions are welcome here.
I love that.
And the moment I said that, one of the 8th graders just saw.
I feel like I need to take notes right now. That's so good. I love that.
And the 8th grader, he just started sobbing. And I said, yeah, exactly. No, this is, you do not have to do a single pose. That's not what this is meant to be. This is meant to be a safe space for you to just be. And so now, since
like
that,
literally want to cry for that one.
Repeat after me. Your emotions are welcome. Here.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm
using that.
That's beautiful.
So
and
powerful.
adults need that message too.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be surprised how many people come sit and pay to sit in a therapy space with me and somehow still think they're not supposed to show up fully in their emotions.
Yeah.
Like all the time I'm saying, like, this is the place where you do this without judgment. Like, that's what I'm here for. Yeah.
But I think that's what social
Utilize
media
me.
is doing for kids. Like,
Yes.
they're filling up that white space with, I can't think about it, I can't think about it, I can't think about it, I can't think about it.
Distraction.
Well, I was even just telling somebody literally like a few hours ago, just scrolling through my phone, I mean, and like the dopamine hits when we get the likes and things like that.
Yes.
It's chemical too.
Yeah.
And then I remembered myself getting stuck in that loop and going, I had to say it out loud. Stephanie, your self-care is not in your smartphone. Boom. Like I just had to say it out loud to myself because it's just to disrupt our autopilot, which I think is another thing when we are, just in the bustle and hustle of life and when we're just in the auto mode of our routines, which I do find that curious too, like how we're so eager to go back to normal and back to routine. Yeah. It's like, that's comfort level, but that's not necessarily empowering us to consider what our abundant life can look like collectively.
Yes.
I mean, I think the good thing that came out of COVID was we all had to just sit.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that wasn't comfortable for a while, right? Yeah. I mean, my kids were like, okay. And then we kind of had fun with it.
Yeah.
And everybody had a lot of fun. And then after a couple months, everybody was like, okay.
Now what?
Like, okay. What, we need people again. Like, enough is enough. So, I totally, like, that was so good. And I kind of didn't want to lose it, you know, just walking the streets with a glass of wine and my daughter every single night. And now if I get like 3 words, she's in San Francisco, I'm like, what are you doing? Can we just walk? And you just talk to me about life every day. I miss that.
I know, right? I know. I think there's going to be so many things that we miss. And maybe like that taught us lessons about abundance. I mean, in just,
Completely.
if we can keep them and not dismiss them or just go back to normal, whatever
we
that
forgot
is.
what feels good. I think we forgot, because you just don't have time for it anymore. Like you're quality over quantity, and those quality people, like you took time for that, because you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't run to the grocery store. You didn't eat out. Like everybody stayed home. You got creative in food and whatever, and painting and arts and crafts or games or anything, and you forgot. Well, at least I did.
So, piggybacking on that, because that was actually going to be something I asked you, is how can we practice and bring this abundant mindset into our lives? I'm curious just to see what you say about that, Allana.
I have to stop every morning, and I have to think about what the day is going to be, and I have to just get my mind into a settled place of what I brought from yesterday and what's coming from today and what I'm looking at tomorrow. And I just have to stop and kind of take it all in and what's important to me and what are my priorities and where do I want to be tomorrow. I have to stop. And that was such a learning curve for me, but it's really helped me mentally because I wasn't going down a right path. I mean, I feel like I'm a pretty positive person. So, but yeah, I just stopping and understanding what does that mean? Like it's different from today than it might be in a week or in 3 months, you know?
That's true. Rebecca, I'm curious, like from a professional perspective, but like even just from your heart and soul, how do you practice and bring abundance into your life?
I think it's for me self-awareness, and I was thinking about what Stefanie said about she's scrolling through her phone, and we're talking about someone who teaches mindfulness and meditation every day, all day. So you think about the people who are in this room, and I know myself, I've been like, oh, look at me. Normally I'm not super social media focused, but there have been times where just unconsciously, and that's the important word, I'm scrolling and I'm like, look at this, right? And I think for those of us who have cultivated that observer self, that wise mind, to find ourselves doing that, think of all the people who have never even touched on that. So I think, it really is this same thing. It's having self-awareness, being able to self-reflect. And personally, probably because I'm high strung and a little borderline ADHD, I have to change it up. It's not the same for me every day. Yes. So I have many things I do but I do something every day. So I get teased by my girlfriends when we travel. I'm a single woman, so I travel with other women and we share rooms and space, and they all know that I have this morning ritual. So it doesn't matter where we are. You know, I'll come down to the pool around noon and they're all like, did you meditate? Did you oil pull? Like, you know, did you do this? Did you do that? And I'm like, yep. And now I'm ready for a margarita and some sunshine and like, you know, but it's that I have to reserve that time to create that balance. I think that's the way that I stay focused.
I love that. Laura, I'm curious about everybody on this topic because it's so important to like think of ways that we can bring it to us.
I love that you said the ADHD point about how I feel you. Then that's so the case for me, that it's like my practice doesn't look the same every single day, and that's important for me. And for many, many years ago when I was first studying meditation, I felt like this is what my practice has to be, and like this is the way it has to look. And then over time I'm like, okay, that did work for me for a period of time, and then life shifted, and then I was like, I need something new. And so just like my passions are always evolving, my practices are evolving with that. And I find new insights by incorporating new things into my day-to-day practice. And that's what makes me feel more a sense of abundance, is like, what are the things that I love to do, and then allowing myself the time to do them. Which is very similar to what Rebecca's saying. Like, she knows that she needs that for the rest of her day. For me, mine's not always first thing in the morning, just based on like life doesn't always happen that way, which is something I tell people in meditation all the time. They're like, but don't you have to meditate first thing in the morning? I'm like, is it best? Like, maybe, but like, does it fit in your lifestyle? Because if it doesn't fit in your lifestyle, then it's not best for you. And I think it's all about self-awareness, knowing who we are, which is a lifelong journey. It's not like you finally like, this is who I am. And, you know, you're continually learning, and we're continually evolving. So being tuned in to what your desires are that day, that week, that month is how you continue to cultivate abundance. And that's one of the reasons that my tools are always shifting, because I'm growing as a person, and I'm like, I'm not going to feel ashamed of the fact that my passions keep evolving. Like, that's who I am, and it's all super authentic. And this is one of the things that I love about astrology so much, is that it's like gives people such a concept of like, these are the bones, like these are such strong elements of who you are, and these are gifts. And how can you look at those gifts and utilize those gifts, and then also recognize like, this is where you could pull a little bit more energy, and by pulling that more energy, like you'll feel more fulfilled, you'll feel more whole, you'll feel more connected. There's just, so my practice is always evolving, and I always tell people like, don't be ashamed to follow your passions and see where they take you.
I hear a lot too of like not putting yourself in a box.
Yes.
Like in this room in general, like I think that, and I guess that maybe is that a societal thing, that we feel like this is what success looks like. This is what abundance looks like. This is what life looks like.
Or even this is what meditation looks like.
This is what meditation looks like, or what therapy looks like, or whatever it is. And being open-minded maybe helps create abundance. I don't know, Stefanie, how do we bring abundance into our lives?
Well, I think with that too, there needs to be some deliberate disruption as well of the boxes, because I think especially with marketing and media, there's a desire to have people understand each other. I think it comes from a place of wanting to understand, but with that, we place labels on ourselves and each other to try to find that bridge of connection. And so to disrupt that and say, actually, I'm that and I'm this too. You know, and I'm this. You know, like particularly when I love offering chakra meditations and things like that too, because we get to experience the fact that we have a myriad of energies within us, each and every one of us. So we can be more than one thing at one time, and at different parts of our lives, different things feel more resonant with us, and they're the things that are ready to be expressed and explored and shared with people. And so I feel like that's something we could consider doing. I'm excited to be doing that right now. And I think well, just going back to abundance practices and things like that, for me, because I tend to connect my value with my productivity, and I know I'm not alone in that, I try to make time for intentional rest. And for me, it's also very much tapping into connection with my ancestors and having that rest in connection to resilience and what is within me when I am still, when I am breathing deep, like what is something that I was just born with, like you were saying, like just born with, no effort, complete ease. So
that's beautiful. Beautiful. You know, I think I love what all of you have said. I'm certainly not so incredibly disciplined to meditate every morning. But I wake up every morning, and part of it, I teach this. So, you know, thinking about what is my brand, you know, and even that just sounds so in a box and generic at this point.
Your brand isn't generic.
So, oh, good.
No.
I'm all me. I can say that.
sure.
I'm all me. But, you know, really, and when I talk about even helping people map out what their brand looks like, it's always, you know, it's mapping it to their core values, and then what behaviors are they exhibiting. And so for me, it's so deep. It's not just what people are going to think about me. Who cares? I mean, I care, but I don't care. But more importantly is, what experience am I going to create with them that I will be able to hopefully leave an imprint on, and vice versa. I want an imprint of those people out there that I'm connecting to. And so my family laughs at me because I do wake up and I'm like, okay, good morning. It's the first day of the rest of your life.
You say
I
that
heard
every
once,
morning?
just about. And they're like, yeah, Mom, we know.
You remind me of my own mother. I was not a morning person. I'd like pull the covers and be like, stop singing.
Oh, and my youngest, he's just like, Mom, please give me a break. But you know, it really is. It's like, today really is the first day of the rest of our lives.
Wow.
And that's abundance. That's the get to.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, thinking of it, I guess it's not really even a choice. Like, it's just how I feel like I'm wired. But
I think you teach introspectively.
100%.
Like,
it's
I think
all
that's
about the whole person.
It's who you are. You're just truly an introspective person. I am exactly the opposite. So I have to force myself. Like, I think it's there, but you just. And that's why I like, it's a magnet. Like, since I've met her 26 years ago, like, it's just, you're so introspective. So for me, I have to force myself to get up and be and stop. You just live that and breathe it.
That's why I said it's a get to. I do therapy every day. Like, it's, you know, business therapy, psychotherapy, meditation, yoga. I did get certified. So I'm such a believer in all of those things. And I guess, you know, that kind of does lead to my own philosophy of really developing the potential in every person as a whole leader, as a whole person. And that comes from different mediums and different platforms and where we pull from. But it is a choice in perspective of, you know, how you're seeing things, if you're seeing abundance or that scarcity. And when I think of, well, what's the opposite of abundance? It goes dead down to fear.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Well, that's it, right? It's all love or fear.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's it.
So to me, you know, it's like, what's the fear going to do for you?
Right.
Because I know what the abundance does for me. It is a natural high. You know, there's no question. When I have those thoughts of abundance of, oh my gosh, sky's the limit.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
We can do anything.
Do you think, and this is not even something I was thinking about asking, but like, as you said that, do you think that you were born that way? Or do you think that came down the line from lessons that you learned? I mean, everybody in this room, and Allana, you too, are abundant minded, right? Even in your essence of the way that you love people. Like, everybody in here has abundance as their go-to. It doesn't mean that things aren't hard or we don't have fear or we don't have to fight for it. But I feel like I see so much of the world that really lives on fear and just stays there.
Yes.
So is that something that you feel like you were born with, or how'd you develop it?
That's such a great question.
It's hard.
So it is really interesting, you know, if someone were to just sit down and take a biographical look at, you know, my childhood, for example. I had a difficult childhood. I had some terrible things that happened to me. I had sexual abuse that happened to me. I grew up with a single mother, so that was very difficult. I went to a different school every single year trying to make new friends. I had a biological father in and out of my life, was held at gunpoint with him. He ended up going to prison, like crazy things, right? So you can't just look at the outside and go, oh, wow, they're all together. They haven't had anything, and I think about that sometimes because I think about, gosh, I'm so grateful I don't have this resentment, that chip on your shoulder, because that closes down the abundance right there.
For sure.
Right? It's like, oh, poor me, I'm the victim. And I think twofold. I think God gifted me not to have those resentful, unforgivable times, and put people in my life that were truly my earth angels. And still to this day, those earth angels just keep showing up in my life. And, if I were not open to seeing that, then perhaps I wouldn't be the person I am. I'm sure I wouldn't, because those people, and almost all of them were women, picked me up at certain places in my life and believed in me. So I think it's twofold.
Rebecca, I'm interested in, especially because of what you do, like, what are common misconceptions that you feel like people consider when it comes to abundance? Like, where do you see people, I don't want to say going wrong, there's no wrong, but like where do they get lost?
I think scarcity mindset was mentioned, and I think that's a huge one. I think I see that a lot. I work with all different types of people, but I work with a lot of what I would refer to, what would be known as, let's say, type A, high achieving, high stress individuals. And a lot of these people have a belief that there's not enough and they have to push and they have to beat so-and-so. And so there's this competitive energy, this ostracizing, kind of singling oneself out energy. And so what's missed there, what's lost there, is this idea that we really do uplift each other. And when we have an abundant mindset and we bring others into that and share whatever we have, we exponentially grow what we have. And there's like a ripple effect. And then also that operates on this whole premise of like what we put out comes back. And so we create this energetic flow of abundance in our world. And I think most people miss that if they're not spiritually minded, if they're not doing these things we're talking about, meditation and self-introspection and things. I think that piece gets missed. And it's fear-rooted, for sure. It's a fear-based mentality that we have to grasp on to what we have. I do this every single day. I say, can you hold it lightly? And I turn my palms up. Whatever we're talking about, can you hold it lightly? Right? And there's a felt sense to that, like this versus this. It still exists.
Right.
I still have this issue. I still have this concern, whatever, this fear, whatever. But if I can hold it like this, again, the energy can move and I'm not so identified and bound up to this. So, and I want to add to that, because it's just been like, as I've been listening to the three of you on this side speak, what I really love about what you do, and I do this too, so I love it, but I love hearing that you do this, is permission. You're all giving permission to people to be themselves, to let it look like whatever it looks like. And that's such a powerful gift that we give when we sit in a position of power or authority. And when I say power or authority, what I mean is some leader in some position, right? We're teaching a class, we're acting as a coach or a therapist or a mother or whatever we're doing. But when we give permission, that's such a beautiful gift, because many people think that we have to fit in a certain mold. And it stunts us. So when we give permission to others to just be, like, this beautiful transformation can happen. And I love that. So
it's so empowering for other people.
Messy middle.
I
call it the messy middle.
That's where the good stuff is.
Completely.
What would life be without the messy parts?
Well, a lot of people want you to come in and fix it. And it's, sometimes it's not fixable. Sometimes we're just learning something.
Learning to change your relationship with your stuff, like learning to change the way that you view parts of yourself and the way that you view the world around you, and then what's around you changes. It's like the way that we perceive it shifts, and then the energy shifts. It's like it becomes lighter when you recognize that you're not letting something take power over you. And that's why I love to empower people. And that's exactly what you're talking about. I think it's so vital. Like you are who you are, and whatever happened to you, and you can let that have the power over you, or you can take your own power back and be like, I'm not going to let this define me, and I'm not going to let this determine what the rest of my life is like. Like that was what happened to me. And it doesn't make me who I am. It's a piece of who I am, but it's not all of me.
Well, and the thing that I love about when we go into spaces where there are, there's a culture of people that have this belief that their destiny is their history. I just going in and offering a different perspective and saying like, oh my gosh, you're so strong. Like you're still here. You're still
survivor.
You're a survivor. Oh my gosh. Like, look at that. Oh, you smiled. Yes, you smiled. You know, like just really championing that, and just how much that can just like completely change the chemistry in the space just by offering a shift in perspective and a, just giving them a view of themselves, the beautiful in themselves, and the champion of them.
I just love the energy you bring for those kids. Like,
I was just thinking that.
Oh my God,
so
like
beautiful.
How lucky they are to just be around you. Like that's just so awesome. Like that, like all of that energy.
You for doing that for our kids.
Yeah. That's
you
so
let them
big.
you let them see themselves in a different lens.
Yeah.
And I'll even tell them sometimes, because they'll be labeled by the school even as a certain person,
or a parent or a sibling.
Completely.
The smart one, the dumb one, the whatever,
the troublemaker. And I'll go to them and be like, I'm looking at you with fresh eyes, my friend. Like,
oh my God, I love that. I love that.
But at the same time too, like coming from a background of trauma and of hardship too, a hard childhood, being with these kids a lot of the time is like looking in a mirror. And so for me, it's healing me too, and I'm telling them I'm telling me too. You know. So it's like it's love, and it's a little selfish too, in the best way.
Absolutely.
Amen, sister.
I believe it.
That's in all teachings, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Legit in all teachings.
It's like if you really want to understand something, teach it. Yeah.
And as we say it, it's like a mantra. It's like an affirmation. And oftentimes when we unpack things, it's like, oh, I'm learning that too. That's awesome.
So awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if there's nothing, I mean, I feel like what keeps you into something, like if I don't want to say if there's nothing in it for you, but like if you do feel it, and if you've experienced it, then you stay with it. So I do think there's something beautiful in that. You have to, I mean, it's not, you have to get something back from the things that you do and love, because otherwise you won't continue to do them. So that makes, I mean, it makes sense. It's nothing selfish. I think it's what keeps you going and keeps you doing what you're supposed to be doing. So, what do you think are like the biggest lessons you've learned when it comes to gratitude, Stefanie?
Oh man, everything. I mean, I think similar to what even here, back to the quote. Two ways to live our lives. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is though everything is a miracle. Just everything. I feel like we're all divinely designed. We're all here for a purpose. Everything that happens to us is also for us, and meant for us to just live through and witness where we're meant to be guided, Like I think some of it's intentional and some of it's us and some of it's just trusting in the flow of the universe and letting ourselves be divinely guided. It's a give and take of deliberately, intentionally moving and then also trusting in the flow.
And I just have to say that quote for me is so you. Like you have this ability to transmute like I'll be telling you a story and you just like transmute it like, no, this is magic, and like there's this whole other way to look at it. And I'm like, yes, there is, and it just changes the whole dynamic. And so it's awesome. Like that's one of your gifts. So I love that you got that quote.
Oh, thanks. And I feel like I inherited it from my mom a bit too. Just seeing like, you know, she also undergone a lot of hardship and a lot of trauma, but she still had resilient hope and still had love in her heart constantly. And so just seeing that being embodied, not even deliberately, it's just who she was, right. You know? And just how that, I think, was absolutely an imprint in me that's hopefully gets passed on to my daughter too.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way it won't.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Allana, I'm curious about you on that. Like, what have been lessons that you've learned, good or bad?
You know, I think it's a refocus because which you have to consciously make. You have to consciously decide how you're going to move on from that. I'm just born with rose-colored glasses, but I have a daughter that's not harder than anybody else's kids or anything, but it is hard for me because I am rose-colored glasses all the time, and it is really been very hard for me to not fix it, to not be the happy person. And I am Tinkerbell that will wake you up, and she's like, do not come into my room. You can emoji me to death, but do not walk into my room, Tinkerbell, in the morning. I cannot have that walking into my room. And I was like, okay. But it is a refocus for me. I just have to really say, how am I going to handle this situation in the best of my own ability? Because I am not a professional, and I'm not, I am just a mom doing the best thing that I can. And I am super passionate, and for a child going through a lot of anxiety and depression and medication and non-medication and everything, all of it, and she's overwhelmed with everything, and I just have to refocus on my intentions and what I can bring to the situation and to any situation, my husband, my family, my business, and choosing all of it, and going back to work on my 50th birthday after 20 years. It was 25 years almost, but it's scary, but just refocusing, like, what am I doing? What do I need? Because I'm giving so much, and I need to get something out of this life too, right? And in the process, I made my kids so proud and my family so proud. Like, wow, you can go back to work after 20, you can raise your kids and be successful and be a badass, like, salesperson, and then whatever, and that abundance for me was, I don't really need a job. Like, right. I mean, I don't say that in any disrespect. No. Extra money is great for our family, but, we don't live above our means ever. And it was just all about, fulfilling myself, but just refocusing on taking those situations on a daily basis right now and saying, okay, what can I do? Because I can't fix it, but I do need to be conscious of who I am as a person, that I bring in this space, because I have to wish I could bring that energy. Maybe 20 years ago, I had that energy. I am so happier in my life right now because it's filling my cup up. I need this because I miss that energy, because you do get beat down with it, and you just don't. I'm sad for my, that I don't have that energy, but I mean, it's just, you can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just try to refocus as much.
I love that. And my hat's off to you for all of that, by the way. I mean, for just knowing that you need, like, that is abundance to me. Like, knowing that you needed to give yourself back, really, to probably create more energy and give it back to.
It was really interesting. Going back to work, I was kind of pissed at myself and my husband a little bit to say, if I didn't stay, Summer knows all of this, if I didn't stay home with my kids, like, I could have been like a CEO of a company. Like, I would have been like quite successful. Hello, people. And he said, you gave our family the gift that we could never, we are abundant. We don't need more money. You don't need, yes, you could have been like the most successful person in this family, but you gave us a gift that we could never ever get in all of it. Like, that was the best gift ever. And as my very angry 18-year-old said the other day, she goes, man, I really miss when you used to cook all those great things every day. And I was like, perspective.
Now exactly. That's right.
Now you're thinking me.
Yeah.
All right, I see.
Right.
Yeah.
That stuff didn't just show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're figuring that out.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Now I'm just not as accessible anymore.
Sometimes you don't know how good you had it until it's gone.
Yeah, that banana pudding finally showed up again.
Yeah.
Took a while.
Are you taking pictures? Is that why you're here?
Teenagers. That's my niece.
My 17-year-old.
She's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
She's stunning.
Beautiful.
Stunning.
She really is stunning.
But like, even taking it back to her and to couple on that, so unfortunately Shauna and my son lost their father suddenly when she was 10 years old, and my son was 7. And I was thinking that, like, when we were talking about how I just wanted to save them at first. Like, I remember going through this year of like tragedy and crying, and of course it was horrifically shocking, and I felt guilty and I felt all those emotions. But what I really felt is, now I'll never be able to fix my kids.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And they're going to have holes in their hearts forever. And I had all of these defining definitions of the way that it was going to be. And I think it was her. She struggled. She struggled to the point where I really was not sure. And I think recently she said to me, like, that is part of what makes me who I am. And accepted that. I don't know
How mature.
Well,
that's
and will it come back up, and will it but I've let some of that go in working through that, and just knowing that much of what, like, Summer and Stefanie both said about trauma, right? That in the end, if hopefully our children and we are able to see enough abundance around us, and like have that idea that things can be seen a different way, that even if it comes back up, like, maybe she'll have the tools to connect to it. And if not, she's got to see Rebecca. I know where I'm sending her, okay?
I do worry. I used to worry. I don't worry anymore. I used to worry for my kids when they were younger, because I lived through such hard times, and I think COVID was probably the first hard times for a lot of people. And I worried that they were so pampered and life was so protected and fixed for them at any cost. My mom didn't fix anything. And I always felt so much stronger because of my victories. And I mean, nobody cared. Like, if you were out, like, I hope you make it back safely. Like, you didn't have a phone attached to your hip and no Life 360. Are you safe and alive across the country or in another country? But I feel stronger for everything that I've been through. I think
why are we all trying to run around and fix it? I'm just curious.
I'm just. But it's the open heart thing that you said, which was you're open. You have that open heart to. I think that was what was beautiful.
I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah. But the fix it thing. So it's so interesting because on top of it all, and most of you know, my middle son, who's now 21, for 5 years fought addiction. Drug of choice is Xanax. Yeah. So, unfortunately, a year ago, he went down 9 months ago. So during COVID, because there was not the type of support he was getting prior even. And so, you talk about trying or wanting to fix it when your son has, or any child or family member has a anxiety drug addiction. And so it's interesting because everybody that we went to, they all kept saying to me, you gotta let go, you gotta let go. And I'm like, do you know who I am? If anything, I've been, defined or, what's the word? branded, not
Labeled.
branded, but labeled.
Labeled.
Thank you, as like not present enough, right? Of being a mom. So I've kind of had that too. Like, you need to get more involved with your kid. So if they
Who
only
are these
knew.
people who are?
Who's labeling
Like,
you?
so who are these people who are giving you all these?
That's right.
Yeah, unsolicited
They're obviously
advice.
doing it perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Let's
it's
go talk to
okay. It's okay because they don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Right.
They don't know what they don't know.
Right, yes.
And, I'm not going to fault them for that. So everybody does just want to fix it. So they're
Yeah.
giving you advice because they want to fix it.
Yeah.
Don't we, as human beings, in a way, we always want to fix it.
Our brains are just wired that way.
But what's so fascinating is, when we try to go fix everything, then how in the world would we be then able to allow someone to have abundance?
Right.
That goes against
Right.
it all. If you really unpeel that, or peel that back and unpack that, then, because abundance, as I said in the beginning, it comes from all of it, right? Good, bad, ugly, positive, negative, whatever we want to call it. But those experiences, and that's their journey.
Yeah.
And we have to honor all of our journeys and only wish and hope for others that they seek and want abundance, but we can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves.
So true.
So true.
It's true. I think about like the Paris Hiltons of the world, who by all like intents and purposes look like they should feel abundant. And some of them, like she in particular, like has to work really hard at her life because it was not what everybody thinks that it is, right? And it's again like that outside in, like looking at the outside picture and saying, "Oh, well, you must," and the truth is that is not the case. Abundance has to come from within, right? Like it cannot come from external forces or what family you come from or anything like that. Think about like Bubby, our grandmother, and how like she had been in Auschwitz and was a Holocaust survivor and lost her family and on and on, and how she was the epitome of abundance. And when I think about her, that's how she is, right? Like I'm talking, so I'm not going to do that.
Well, it reminded me of exactly what Stefanie said about her mom. So that I already went there in my mind.
Right. There was nothing more that came from her except seeing everybody and giving her all and all of her abundance. And so much like you said to Stefanie about like sucking it up, we just all sucked it up. Like we just took it from her. She had no reason, none. She had no reason to feel grateful or happy or give that. And I sometimes wonder if there was anything under the surface that we didn't know. She did not show it. Like I have to like question,
Right.
Was there something more that she hid? And there probably was.
Of course.
I think living just probably around all of this is what she was so grateful for.
Maybe.
Like to get
Love.
like that,
Right, love.
whatever. Like we could never even the unimaginable. This is what she was grateful for, right?
But it's
and
the
I don't know
mindset.
anything, but I just know that's.
It's the mindset you're referring to. Is like that.
Yes.
Like how does one achieve that mindset? And I think that's kind of what we've all been like touching on is this: when you go through struggle,
Right.
right? That there's something about the journey, but maybe the fight, if you will, for lack of a better word. I wish that there's a better word, but to evolve, to persevere. And the resilience that comes with that and the empowerment that comes with that. And then, you have these small wins and gains and the gratitude that evolves. And it's like, and then you get into a relatively stable place in life and you're like, this is abundance. Like,
Right.
because you've gone through the trenches.
Right.
And I think I can think of a lot of people that are close to me that fit, to your bubby.
Yeah.
Like this idea of like, they're just so happy. And from the outside, people look and say, okay, but you have maybe financially not much,
Right.
or,
Exactly.
Right.
your life is not overflowing with activity or whatever. So like, why are you so happy all the time and
Right.
so grateful and, so loving? But I think there's a piece of that mindset.
Obviously our brains are wired differently too, right? So
Absolutely.
talking about, because I think that is so interesting that you bring up the brain so often. Like there's no teachings We don't go to high school or college and anybody says, look, this is how the brain functions until you go and you study it.
You know, though, I got to tell you,
out there.
I went through my doctoral program. I was really lucky that I picked to take certain tracks that taught me about the brain. But I went through my then later like internships and trainings, and my peers didn't know about the brain. My trainers, my supervisors didn't know about the brain. I'm like, how are we all working with the brain and not knowing about the brain? Like, I couldn't understand why that wasn't something we knew. But when you learn about the brain, and so that's why I say neuroenthusiast, because I try to educate all my clients, and every time I go to a corporate speaking gig, I'm telling them all about the brain, probably more than they ever want to know. Because when we learn about the brain, so many things are just like, oh, that's just the product of my brain. I don't actually have to go there. I don't actually have to follow this inclination or this impulse or desire. It's just a byproduct of my brain. Like when I referred to what you were saying, it's like our brain is evolutionarily designed to predict danger, make a plan, and protect us.
Right.
So fill in the blank with whatever that is, right? Whatever we think that is, but we're constantly trying to solve problems. A lot of problems can't be solved, to your earlier point.
Right.
There's not a solution, but we're still going to spin on it as if there is a solution. So there's so much liberation in recognizing, like, just because your brain wants to think about that thing, you don't actually have to. And you probably feel better if you don't.
Right.
If there's not an actually, like, a practical, like I have people kind of do a decision tree almost, like the serenity prayer. Either you can affect change on this thing or you can't. And if you can't affect change, surrender it.
Yes.
Give it up.
Surrender it.
Give it to the universe.
Yes.
Put good intention on it.
Yes.
Send some love at it. Let it go.
Yes.
Right?
Next.
Nothing you can do anyway.
Next problem.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I really try to focus on so much is like, is this something that I can control? And if this is not something I can control, I'm not going to sit around and worry about it. I'm not going to waste my energy and my time, because that's depleting, and that is the lack of abundance, where I'm like, if I can maintain my own energy, that to me is abundance. Like if I can, put my energy where it matters to me, where it touches my soul, where it makes me feel like it's productive, then it's worth my time, it's worth my attention. But it's like, if I can't solve this problem, then I'm not going to sit and dwell on it,
Absolutely.
So I think that's so
this
important.
energy thing, and like Abraham Hicks again,
Yes.
right? You gave me the quote. So like, it's like
Gotta go
with
there.
me now. But I love that she speaks so often about momentum. And this is something I really try to teach people, because what you're talking about is, if I think about this thing that doesn't have a solution, that's a tremendous waste of my time, that causes me to feel negative energy, then I'm creating a negative perspective, like an overlay. So everything I'm now looking at in the environment, I'm seeing through this lens, and I'm interpreting it in a negative way, or I'm seeing the worst parts of it, whatever. But I'm building momentum in a negative direction, right? And it's so hard to stop a car. She gives this analogy, like if you put a car on a hill in San Francisco and you put it in neutral, but you're standing an inch in front of it, you can actually stop that car from moving with your body. But if you stand at the bottom of the hill, forget it. You're annihilated, right? And that's the same thing of like negativity and energy. So when we make a choice to start our day, however, it doesn't have to be meditation, but however we start it with like positive intention, gratitude
practices,
self-reflection, being positive with our kids, singing songs. It's a great day. We're starting a new day. Like how really though, it's like when we start that, we're building momentum in the right direction, and then we like pull things, on that path.
Yes.
What I find curious too is I've noticed in these recent times how certain parts of my healing have caught up with me too. So it's like the things that I wasn't able to fix or I wasn't able to handle in my life, they're coming back, to me now. Yes, and so I did feel a calling to tell you this, Carrie, because it was kind of beautiful too to witness the reframe, and I do feel abundant in it too, because it's just when I witness the feeling or have the memory coming back, I'm like, oh wow, I'm safe enough now. I'm safe now, and I'm safe enough now to handle what was,
And stronger.
So, yeah, and I'm resourced now to be able to heal through it. So maybe later.
That speaks to one more thing about the brain. What you're talking about speaks to, because you referred to your mother had trauma growing up. So you had generational trauma.
Yes.
You had modeled reflective trauma.
Yes.
Your brain was already wired to have more anxious and negative experience in the world. because of your in utero experience. This is what we now know researching the brain. And yet, what you have done with your life speaks to the beauty and magnificence and the miracle of neuroplasticity and neurogenesis.
Love that.
So like we can rewire our brains and become safe, right? And then you pass that down and you've broken a generational
pattern.
Yes.
All about
Which is
breaking the pattern.
Yeah,
right.
me too.
Break it.
That is what feels really empowering. And my mother has passed on. It's going to be 2 years in May. And I will say that did feel like a release also, because it was another opportunity for me to continue to choose to disrupt the cycles and to continue to parent and to instill a new way and a new legacy. And it is going to heal my generational line, and it's healing both ways. Which is nice.
Absolutely.
I love that.
I'm interested in everybody's advice and tips on abundance and bringing it in, and giving some ideas to each other before we leave on how to bring more abundance into our lives.
Be around this group.
Start with the right people.
Every day.
Yeah, right people. I do this every day.
It really, you know what? I'm going to tell you one way. It is about being with the right people. And
Yes,
you
that
know
is.
what? It's about creating boundaries for yourself.
Yes.
And that's been a big one for
Yes.
me. Even going before 2020, moving into 2020, is creating those boundaries. And, you know, I think initially I was thinking create boundaries that, you know, are, well, and it applies because create boundaries that around things that you don't feel are healthy for you.
Yes.
And typically those show up in different ways, right? They can show up in different kinds of relationships. So I was really working on creating new boundaries around any of my codependent relationships and recognizing those were not healthy, not just for the other person, but not for me.
Right.
Even if I thought I felt needed, that was not so healthy. Why did I need to feel needed in certain relationships? And recognizing I wasn't responsible either in other relationships of doing damage control, trying to fix it, whatever I thought it was. And so I think that even more now, having such a clear lens and perspective of the best thing that you could possibly do to preserve and to grow your abundant mindset and life is to create the boundaries of who's allowed in.
Right.
I mean, even Lauren taught me,
Right.
you know,
So huge.
I don't need to give out my energy.
Right.
And, you know, I'm so blessed because it does. You know, it's that dopamine hit. You know, somebody will text me and say, I need some summertime.
Yeah.
I get that. You know,
A lot.
it's kind of fun with my
Yeah.
name, of course. And,
Guilty as charged.
and so, but there are only certain people now, like, I'm not going to give that energy away if it's not also being fed.
Yeah. Yeah, because everybody wants a piece of you, for sure.
Well,
No, it's true. I believe that.
and
That's
I say that,
it's important for you.
I say that because all of us here clearly have that energy, right?
Right.
And
True.
you know, we give it away because we want to help, we want to lift people up. That is just, but to me, I have to honor that. That's also a place of being a vessel. And being humble and really honoring that, like, that's a sacred thing.
Yeah.
And so I've really just started to recognize too that I need to put boundaries around who am I allowing into that space that I'm sharing my abundance with, and they're providing that for me too. Because that's when it catches momentum. That's when you walk away. It doesn't matter if you only had 20 minutes with that
Some energy,
person.
an energy vampire person. You're like,
Yeah.
I think I just gave you all my energy.
Right.
So.
Right.
I think the abundance comes when my tank is full.
Right.
And that's what I'm
Yes.
learning many years later is to how my tank gets filled and the joy of that, the change in that, you know, what does that look like? So for me, that's abundance, because I can be the best person to whoever I want to be the best person to when my soul is replenished.
100%.
I love that, Allana. That helps me consider too I feel like it is very specific to everyone because whatever it is, it fills your tank. What is our love language for ourselves? Like what are ways that we love ourselves and usher in abundance, you know? For me, you know, one of it's music. So I have like a playlist, an abundance playlist that I have. And like I jam out. And there's some songs that are for me and Luna.
It's so good.
Oh, dude, there's a song. I'm like, it's in my head right now as I'm talking. But yeah, just those ways that we can help fill up our cups from time to time in our commute. Like just simple ways that we can weave it in to our lives. That's what I think it's all about.
It's a soul fuel.
Soul fuel.
Yeah.
I was thinking yesterday just about music in general and how music just has this capacity to change everything. It's like changes your energy as soon as you change that song that just fuels you. It's like you feel like a different person, and music for me is definitely one of the ways that I shift my energy and come back to like, what is it that I want to focus on, and what's the energy that I want to have with me today, and how do I find more of it through resources? And
Is it always hip hop?
I'm getting called out.
Gangster rap.
Is it hip hop?
I love hip hop.
Oh my gosh, she knows
know that?
every word.
Wait, did I not know
This is why I'm in love with Lauren.
Yes. You need to do sound healing.
Every word to the most intense rap and hip hop songs. It makes like my heart grows 10 sizes bigger when I because I also love rap and hip hop, but she somehow knows every word, and I'm like, I want to be her. I listen to it all the time too, but it doesn't sink in like that. And
There's something in my brain.
I have a word in because she can just rap it.
Pick that.
You can
Oh my
rap
gosh.
it. Yes.
It's a
You need to
gift.
do that with
Never
sound healing.
known that.
Like
That's
we've gone running together and shared playlists, and she's just singing along, jamming out. Love it.
We were at a workout class last week, and somebody came for the first time. She's like, "Did you just know every single?" But it's not just hip hop.
No,
it's a lot.
But it's because
It's a
music
gift.
touches me. Like I feel music in every part of me, which is why I'm a sound healer. Like I recognize the capacity of sound. Sound has been something since I was a child that just changed my energy, and so it's like I knew that in the depths of who I am, that like sound makes me feel different depending on the mood. A lot of times it's hip hop. Yesterday it was like Depeche Mode. Like it's like I'm all over the place. I don't do country, but like any type of sound. I know.
I do love Depeche Mode. Like, don't Depeche Mode is really good.
Yeah, but no, it's not. I do love hip hop, but it makes me feel empowered. And the thing is, like, fire is something that I'm always trying to access, and hip hop makes me feel fire. And that I didn't have the language for that.
You are fire when you're listening to hip hop.
Exactly.
I totally want to see this. How do I not
But
know
wait,
this?
let me also caveat.
Yeah.
Let me go back and say she does not know the words to every intense song, because I know there are some that you have boycotted.
There are, and yes, because
So I want to
thank
throw
you for
that out.
I appreciate
so that
that.
you don't get called out later.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
because that's not something that I also recognized until several years ago about intentionality. And there's certain words, if it's a derogatory in a way that makes me feel negative, or that I feel like it's, disempowering for other people, that's where I draw the line.
Snaps.
So yeah, like I'm like, hip hop can be amazing and hip hop can also be terrible. So I'm
Well,
true of all
conscientious.
all music.
It is
That's
true of all music, but yes, the words matter, and the intention behind the words matter. So sometimes it's just fun and it's crazy and it's dirty, and that's okay. But like when it's
dirty.
Oh yeah. I mean,
What's your song, Lauren? I want to know the song.
There's
I don't
not
have
one song.
Oh, there's not one.
But I
no
mean, can we do Big Sean's in the house? That much we know.
You need to teach a class that's to that, like a yoga class that's all your hot hip hop songs.
I have considered that before.
Well, stop considering and do it.
I
I want
have
to
done
take
that before, and it went over really well. So you should definitely.
I feel like you need to share that Spotify playlist.
No, legit. Like, yes.
Okay.
I won't share anything else today.
That was you shared nothing.
There's
Mic
more.
drop.
I called her out. That was me calling her out.
This is just the
You're
first
safe.
session.
You're safe, Carrie. I'm going home. I don't live in her neighborhood.
This
So.
is just session one.
Oh, I've got to live with her still, so I'm going to make sure I don't go there.
I'm not afraid to own my hip hop love.
You know what? Actually, and also even in speaking of like the whole topic, like that is one thing that I absolutely freaking love about my sister, who's my baby sister and my heart and my soul, and I love her so much. But what is awesome about you is that you are the biggest anomaly ever. Like, you're here, and until you really know you, it's like, what? Like, just there's so many things about you that don't fit, you know, but that are exactly purely who you are. And I think that that's because you're just you.
Just a lover of life.
Just you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You've worked hard for that though too.
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out. And now I'm like, I'm here now. Like, there's no going back.
That's awesome.
In the flesh. What about you, Rebecca? Like, what are some things, tips and tricks as far as bringing abundance into our lives?
Like, I could do tips and tricks as a professional, but personally,
Yes.
what I'll say is one thing that I really like to do is be present with my own experience of abundance. So whatever that is, and it can be something as small as like, I don't know, like I've purchased something decadent at the grocery store and I'm going to be so present with the fact that like this is a special treat that I'm eating, or, you know, I don't know, I was talking the other day with someone about how, like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but you'll buy an expensive, like, let's say face product or something, but then you want to use it sparingly because it's like expensive. Like, no, right? Like, because I've done that before and it dries up or it goes bad or I forget I own it. Right. So it's like being present with those kind of experiences that just feel special, like I'm like a self-care activity or something I'm doing that's nice and indulgent for myself. It doesn't have to be attached to money, but whatever it may be. So being present in the experience that feels like self-care.
How about you?
Circle back. I'm taking it in. I was all in hers.
Did you already talk about
I think we did.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Okay, we already circled, and that's fine. I mean, it's
She started. She said,
I think
Did you
Yeah,
say
she started.
like
you
you?
did?
I feel like
I need another
Yeah, you
one.
did first.
Which was surrounding
she was
yourself
first.
with
Yeah.
the right people.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hear more from you.
I have more. I have more.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's interesting with abundance too, because it really does take intentionality, but then once you have it and you allow yourself to come from that, like it does feel more free flowing. And so that's something that I've learned. I mean, I've always been a very positive person. I relate to you a lot, Allana. Like a lot of what you said, I was like, that's me, that's me, that's me. Fixing things and everything that you said, always being on and, you know, thinking that was my role in life. But the one thing is that for me, like, and Susie Curtis, who's my yoga instructor
Oh my gosh,
for
I
a
haven't
long
heard
time.
that name in 100 years.
I haven't gone to her since COVID started, but she always has this saying, and you'll know this too, which is be true to yourself. And like, the more I went to her over time, the more I recognize like what that really means. Because I do think in my space, I'm an oldest child of wonderful, great, terrific, fabulous parents, but that very much told me who to be. And as the oldest, I was very much rooted in, this is who you should marry, this is who you should be, this is what you should become, this is right, this is wrong, this is this. And I'm a rule follower. And so I just kind of took it on. I was like, okay, be home at this time. Okay, do this. Okay, you know, not that I was some perfect specimen, I'm not, but like, I really tried out of respect to like, you know, be in the boundaries and the confines, and I still am to some degree, but learning to let that go and really like let my own essence shine through and really being true to myself has helped me a lot with abundance. So that's all I'll add to that.
Takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it really
True
does.
to yourself.
It really does.
That's one of my favorite. I'm not a mother, but that's one of my favorite things when I'm witnessing other people mother their children. Is when I see mothers who are giving their children permission to be exactly who they are.
Yes.
And I used to have a client who would talk about her child who was gender questioning, and she would say all the time to all of her children, that's not specific to this particular child, but she would say to all of her children, fly your freak flag, like, you know, be the one who stands out, be the one who doesn't fit in. Like, that's not important in this family. It's more important for you to figure out who you are and be that person in the world. I love that. And it sounds like all of you do that. So that's cool.
Thank you so much for being here. What an awesome, amazing group of like the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life. It was so special. I knew it would be. And I know that like on a Saturday afternoon, there's a million things that you could be doing. So I am honored by each of your presence. And I'm so glad that those that didn't get to know each other have had this space and time, because I do think that this is how life relationships are built. I mean, I've gotten to meet each of you through unique circumstances and later in my life. Like none of you came into my life when I was a kid, and it's, I think, like building like depth in who we are as we age. Not that we're old, but as we age is like so important in getting the most that we can out of life. So thank you. And we'll have to do this again.
Same time next week.
Okay.